Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is me once again, screaming into the void of the internet. It is about that time again because we are here early in the goddamn morning. Limited amount of sleep. Like I pretty much got to sleep around 3 a.m. So, yep, we got to stay here all the way till 4:30. So, we just got to make it work. But something I wanted to talk about was just how this world has changed, but more or less stayed the same. Everything that's really going on today goes down to control, And a lot of people like to believe that humanity has advanced quite a bit since the Dark Ages and tyranny, feudalism, etc., etc. But realistically speaking, all that happened was the chains that were once physical, that binded you, became digital or incorporeal, right? Just think about for a moment how insanely difficult it is to do anything in relation of gaining your freedom, right? If you were sick of, say, a king or something like that, and you had enough resources to just kind of just go to a different city or something like that, you didn't need to have some kind of ID or anything. You just dipped, and that was that. You just settled in elsewhere, right? Because people couldn't keep track of you, at least not as easily. Nowadays, though, the control has expanded. Oh, sure, you have a car and it's way easier to move across cities, across states and stuff like that, but now, where's your ID? Oh, if you move into this place, you need to give me a security deposit, then you need to give me proof of employment. Why do you need these things? As long as you're getting the money, that should be all that matters. All of this nonsense about being in my business, about how much money I'm making, can I prove that I can be here? Listen, that is not your concern. All that your concern should be is getting enough money, period, point blank. The thing is, they probably do that because they know that there aren't many freaking jobs these days that pay you enough to make a living, right? You see this more and more where you just see families living in cars, and you see them living in storage units and stuff like that. And there is no denying that, yeah, while I said that I'm going to be living in a room and stuff like that, there's no denying that that is tougher, right? It's tougher. It's harder on you, right? Because there are going to be sacrifices that you will make, rooming with other people. And just because I am willing to make that sacrifice, that doesn't mean everybody else can. Everybody is usually naturally going to want their own space. But we're living in an age where it's so difficult to actually be able to afford your own space that you kind of just have to make sacrifices. And the sacrifices that I've made is to just choose to room, right? I love that there's a plane flying above my head, but whatever, right? I can really understand, again, why so many people would just say, hey, listen, they get really sick of the control, they get really sick of the games, and they just want to check out, And I know I say that a lot because it's listen, folks, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that I feel the burnout, but I do understand that, hey, there's plenty of days where I wish I could just sleep longer and whatnot. Even when I do get rest, it's it doesn't always feel like it's enough because of, what you're doing at the wage cage. And, people will try and tell you, in typical fashion about control that, you just are lazy, you can't hang and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the people at the top of the pyramid scheme, because that's all that this really is, if you really want to know, it's a pyramid scheme. They're not the ones working. The employees are. CEOs and stuff like that. When I was in business and I was studying business, all that it is just the same thing. If you imagine if you're a sibling and you're the head honcho of the siblings, and you might sometimes occasionally ask your siblings that are younger than you to do something that someone asked you to do. Yeah, that doesn't just mystically stop just because you became a CEO and stuff like that. They'll ask you to, like, fetch the papers, like, answer the phone calls, make the business plans, blah, 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 blah. They'll ask you to do that, and they're the ones getting the bigger salary. The managers in this instance, right? Again, I'm here early, right? So that I can clock in on time. There is a 50% chance that the managers will show up late. However, again, they're still getting paid more. They're making more money than you. They get to come late, leave early, and they make more money than you. This entire thing is just built on control. And the more that people see it, the more infuriated they become with it. The angrier that they get with it, and they realize, yeah, this isn't really worth doing. But they keep going anyway, and that's why you just see so many instances where people quiet quit, where they do the bare minimum, right, to keep the job, but, like, they have no intention on, like, getting promoted and all kinds of stuff. And I'm probably the same in general. Like, if I was, like, promoted to a higher, like, position with cooking, like, I really don't want to have anyone under me. I don't want to be telling anyone what to do. I'm fine where I am, because realistically speaking, I don't know how long I would want to be at this job. At minimum, like a year. At minimum a year, but I'd want to, like, have something where I can actually, kind of relax a bit more. Not necessarily saying that I want easy money, but, having to, like, run around like I'm a freaking chicken with my head cut off because people don't want to pay, or should I say hire, like, new workers and stuff like that. It's very irritating. It's irritating, I really wish that, at minimum, we could live in a world where, despite all of this control, like, you at least had enough money to where you were able to make a steady living. Because when people hear steady living, they think that, vacations and, Paris and bullcrap. And I'm not talking about that, dude. That's luxury. That's luxury. I'm talking about the fact that, hey, listen, my bills are going to be paid more than enough. You know that your bills will be paid more than enough. You know that your car note will be paid more than enough. Things like that. Within reason, of course. Now, I'm not saying, like, if you're making stupid decisions, like living in an area that you can't afford, or, trying to get a car to flex that you can't afford. I'm talking about people that are making smart decisions that are still kind of getting screwed. That's why I'm telling you, more and more people go around and they say, oh, like, this generation just hates kids and stuff like that. No, we just had to grow up, like, dealing with you cocksuckers for parents. And considering how difficult our lives are, we just don't want to pass that down to the kids. No one should be trying to, like, pass down, like, this level of, like, needing to scrape the barrel to get by to children. People will try and tell you that, well, people did it even before then, and they would have kids in war. But think about how selfish that is. You had a kid in war, so that the moment your sucker, like, turned 14 or something, this guy's shipped off to war to, like, get freaking hacked apart. That really sounds like that's ideal to you? Because the truth of the matter, if you want to know, like, what's behind these, like, dropping population rates, it's just fear of, it's fear of being exterminated. That's what will make people just breed compulsively, right? And when you think about it, look at the average IQ of the people that have the most kids, right? Nibbas, for example, they have, like, some of the worst IQ in this country. And so, it's almost like they know that most of their kids are going to die in gangbangs and drug dealing, and so what do? They pop them out, as well as the fact that they get cash prizes because, hey, food stamps and all this other nonsense where they don't really need to take care of the kid. So they get rewarded for being lazy and irresponsible cunts, and so they just keep popping kids out. Right? But a lot of this generation has woken up and they say, yeah, that's not right. That's not a good freaking environment to the kids. I speak from personal experience. My mom wasn't necessarily the worst, but she certainly wasn't the best. She did the best that she could, but, like, the question remains, like, out of all the people that you could have chosen as a dad, why'd you choose that one, That's something that you really got to start wondering about these days, I'm trying to stay on topic, though. It's just, I'm very tired, you know. But yeah, this world is all built on control. You know, they want to know everything that you do at every moment. You need an ID to do this. You need a permit to do that. All this stuff where they're all in your business. How much money are you making, you know, so we can tax you in the arsehole or anything, right? Even though the people at the top do not pay their taxes, you know. The people making these laws have been in the same positions for freaking decades, as if that makes any sense. Because all they're going to do is look out for themselves, right? And hate to break it to you, but you may as well be a different species when there is that large of a gap in terms of wealth. The way that they live, the way that they dress, the things that they eat, stuff like that, you know, you can't imagine it. Like, do you guys remember in everyone's favorite year, 2020, I think, what was it, like Nancy Pelosi or some bullcrap? Like, she was like showing off a refrigerator that was like $10,000 or something, like, while people basically were just trying to scrape by because they couldn't go to work. Those are the people that are like deciding what's going on in America, for example, because that's just where I live, you know. If you live somewhere else but you relate, then, you know, insert whoever, right? But that's the truth. That's the truth, man. It's all about control, and the people that are controlling are trying to have as minimal responsibility as they can, while they dump the burden of responsibility onto you. And then they tell you that you shouldn't feel overworked, you shouldn't feel burned out. While, again, they're just reaping the benefits off of your labor. And they don't even have the decency to just make sure that you have enough money to, you know, get by. Once upon a time they did. You know, one income could support a family, and you could definitely buy a car or a house, all kinds of things like that, right? Now that doesn't happen. And they're like, hey, well, it's not just enough to work 40 hours, work 50 hours. It's not just enough to work 50 hours, work 60 hours. Meanwhile, the cocksuckers are saying this stuff again. They barely have to work. Because the freaking employees, if they do show up, they're doing all the work for them. While they could be screwing a freaking secretary. Yeah. You better believe it. Better believe it. But I'm going to go ahead and end this here, because really this is just kind of just stereotypical stuff. If you've been here enough by now to know that I just need to wake up. And yeah. I'm probably going to be here along with maybe one other person, because I don't know how this is going to work. There's way too many people have been getting let go around here, and it doesn't make any sense to me. You know? They don't want to hire new people, you know, but they keep letting go of the guys, and we're the main ones essentially, like, cooking all this food, moving it all around and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's pretty stupid, but what can I do? I just work here, right? Again, thank you guys for listening. God bless. I will see you guys next time.